Hello, students. That is the sound of John Coltrane. And I'm going to tell you more about John Coltrane. And I'm going to relate it to your essay. And if you're in second period, you already heard about John Coltrane. But I'm going to tell you more. But for now, I want to go over the first part of your essay, the introduction that is due on Monday. So this is exactly what's due, the introduction to Arab Spring. And I want you to, for all of this, refer to your lecture notes on Arab Spring. That's where you're going to gather all information. We've already gone over the essay. It's in third person. No, I think, I believe. That means he, she, they, them. It's an expository essay, meaning facts. We want just the facts. We don't want your opinion. That's why you're writing in third person. Focused transitions. We want you to achieve flow, not choppy writing. Joe went to the store. Joe bought food. Joe bought 2 bags of chips. Joe is very hungry, so Joe ate it all. Then Joe had none left. We want transitions. Transitions. Joe went to the store. However, because Joe was so hungry, he couldn't decide what to eat. He walked around the aisles. After a while, transition, Joe began to see that he should get out of the store because never go to the store when you're hungry. All right, transitions. We need transitions. So here's our focus. This section right here is what is due on Monday. It needs to be typed on your iPad. So first thing we do when we start an essay, let's start a new document. So please start a new Google document. And before you do anything, in the untitled part, put your name. Mr. Kinman, Arab Spring essay. Alright, now I'm ready. Now I need a proper heading. Grant Kinman. We need the class date, and that's all I really care about. Mr. Kinman, geography, date, December 3rd, 2015. That's the basic comment heading. Most people aren't going to be more strict than that, and that works for the rest of your life. Then you need a title. Arab Spring. You can get more creative if you want. Arab Spring and the rise of insecurity in the Arab world, or something like that. Or maybe you want to give it another title. I think titles are fun. I think you should have fun with them. I don't really think titles are meant to be boring. Arab Spring's boring without a nice title. So I'm going to say Arab Spring and the spark. Arab Spring and the spark that ignited change. Whether it's good or bad, I don't know. We'll see. And you are not including that because we don't want your opinion. But that's my title for now. And then I'm going to begin my essay. Indent my first paragraph. And let's see what I need to be writing about. So, first thing, what is Arab Spring? Okay, so that's your A. What is Arab Spring? That's going to be your claim. So your paper should start out, Arab Spring is the, and then you complete your paragraph. Oh, I'm sorry, your sentence. Okay, so there's our claim, Arab Spring. But we need evidence, so we move on. Tell me more. When and where did it begin? The events began in blank in the year 2010. From there, we know that they spread. And you can tell me more about this. I'm not writing your essay. You need to use your lecture notes that you have from this lecture, Arab Spring, to help you fill in this information. Music break. Back to John Coltrane! We'll come back to this when it loads. Oh, no, I'm frozen. I'm unfrozen. We're back. Let's review. So you've talked about what Arab Spring is. In order to do that, you went back to your notes and you looked, oh, what is Arab Spring? There's a helpful note. And then you went on to the next sentence. When and where did it begin? Oh, I know about that. That has to do with Mohammed Bouazizi and Tunisia. Okay, so then you covered that part, the second sentence. Why did it begin? Okay, now here's where we start to get into our analysis. All right, why did it begin? Well, that's a little more complicated. That's why it's analysis. So we got to go through our lecture and think, why are these people so upset? Let's think back to Mohammed Bouazizi, the spark that led to the revolution. Well, the people are upset about a couple of things. Here's a slide that will really help. And they are rebelling against governments throughout the Arab world, not just in Tunisia after this. So you got to cover, why did it begin? You could mention Muhammad there and what he did. What are they protesting against? So why are the people protesting? And then you need to explain the idea of authoritarian government here. Remember, when you write your essay, you're always writing as if the person knows nothing about Arab Spring, about the knowledge that you have about authoritarian governments and all these things. So you need to explain big ideas like your vocab word authoritarian. So refer to your vocabulary sheet and make sure you identify what is an authoritarian government, because that's one of the reasons that people are really upset. Alright, I told one period this, but you're going to go ahead and we're not worried about this. Number 3, strike through. You don't need to do that. And then here's our last part. Your introduction should end with this. An answer to this question. That's your thesis. Or really, it's not so much a thesis paper because it's an expository essay, but this is the biggest point of your essay. This is going to be what drives everything else. So we're going to call it your thesis. And the question is, how did the self-immolation of Mohammed Bouazizi spark a revolution that would eventually overthrow the government of Tunisia? So, go back through your slides. Think about, what does this mean? That Mohammed Bouazizi and his act of self-immolation was the spark that led to the fire revolution, Arab Spring. And make sure you have an answer to that. So, looking at your paper, Arab Spring is the, and that would be your first sentence, your claim. And you'd answer that. These events began in, and from there they spread, and you give me evidence. And then your analysis should be at least 3 to 4 sentences. And then you end with your final analysis, your thesis that answers that question. So the whole thing should be at least, I'd say, 7 sentences, 7 to 8 sentences. Sorry, excuse me. And that is what you need to come to class with. Alright, I'll leave you with John Coltrane, and I told you that I would tell you more about John Coltrane. A brief, you can shut me off if you want, but I wouldn't, because I'm going to teach you something cool. A brief jazz introduction. So jazz has these basic rules, and if you understand them, what makes jazz jazz, what makes jazz beautiful is once you understand the basic rules, then you go anywhere. And that's called improvisation. You improvise. You know the rules, and then you use the rules to expand on your writing. And my point is this. You know the basic rules of writing, right? You need the claim, you need your evidence, and you need your analysis. But from there, the paper becomes your art form. You are the artist. You're improvising. You're making the music. So, be creative. Be artists. Okay? Alright. So I leave you with John Coltrane. Again, enjoy your weekend and make sure you get your homework done. Come with that paragraph complete. Oh, John Coltrane, what you do is so beautiful. Have a good weekend, everyone.